Today we will explore a complicated love story, one that began with sincerity, but ultimately led to a tragic ending, turning the lives of 3 women into a horrifying tragedy. On June 19, 2017, police received a report that a mother and daughter living on a farm in Idaho had been out of contact with friends and relatives for several weeks. Fearing they might be sick or have had an accident, police quickly went to the farm to check. As soon as they arrived, the atmosphere was eerily quiet, and a nauseating stench like that of a dead animal spread across the property. What followed would be today's story. Following the terrible smell, the police traced it to a barn in the middle of the property. When the door was opened, the stench hit them full force, accompanied by countless flies swarming everywhere. Inside, they were shocked to find 3 human bodies in advanced decomposition hidden under a blue tarp. Because of the summer heat, initial identification was impossible, and the bodies were immediately sent for forensic examination. The results later confirmed that all 3 victims were people who lived on and owned the farm. Before diving into the horrifying events, let's first learn about those involved. First was Nadia Medley, 47 years old. She was born and raised in Utah, USA. Nadia's happy life suddenly changed when her husband passed away, leaving her a single mother, raising her 17-year-old daughter Peyton alone. Nadia struggled to make a living as a massage therapist at a spa. She had given up on hope and love, focusing only on work for her daughter's sake. But her and her daughter's lives changed forever when a man appeared, Michael Bullinger, 60 years old. He was one of Nadia's clients at the spa. Through conversations, they quickly realized they shared common thoughts, interests, and life views. They became emotional support for one another, and soon fell in love. Mike was a private pilot for billionaires, earning up to $10,000 a month, and had been single for more than 10 years. Nadia and Mike's relationship developed quickly. They went on dates, ate out, traveled. Nadia felt Mike was a warm and thoughtful man who helped her rediscover joy and happiness. She introduced Mike to Peyton, and within months he had won the hearts of both mother and daughter. He became the man Nadia and Peyton trusted to bring happiness and stability to their family. Mike often took the 2 out on weekends, picked Peyton up from school, and took her to eat. When Nadia was busy, Peyton even called Mike Dad on her own. Friends and relatives of Nadia noticed how much more vibrant and happy the 2 had become since Mike came into their lives. They often shared joyful moments on social media, showing love and admiration for Mike, making many people envy their warm family life. However, after more than a year, cracks began to appear in their relationship. Nadia bravely confided in Mike about the financial struggles she faced as a single mother. She hoped Mike could help or lend her some money. But Mike flatly refused, giving all sorts of personal reasons. This left Nadia disappointed. Especially since she knew Mike earned a very high income, she couldn't understand why he wouldn't share even a small part of it to help her and her daughter. From this disagreement, their conflicts became increasingly bitter. Nadia felt hurt, while Mike grew irritated that money issues were ruining their love. Eventually, they decided to break up. Just a few months later, love pulled Mike back again. He took the initiative to reconcile, and Nadia forgave him. Mike promised to be truly serious and develop the relationship more clearly. To prove this, he spent a large sum of money to buy a farm in a peaceful town in Idaho. He told her this would be the place where Nadia and Peyton could live with him as a happy family, while also solving Nadia's financial issues by freeing her from paying rent. At first, Nadia was skeptical of Mike's intentions, but after careful thought, she believed he truly wanted to commit seriously to her and her daughter. She happily agreed to move to the farm. Nadia was overjoyed as she shared the good news with her friends and family, believing she was about to start a new life with the man she loved. When she and her daughter moved in, their love for animals made them feel it was a dream life, and Mike seemed like their destiny. But tragically, that happiness lasted only a short time before disaster struck. In early June 2017, just weeks after Nadia and Peyton moved in, the first signs of trouble appeared. Mike ordered horses from a farm in Utah, but nobody came to pick them up. Neither Mike nor Nadia answered their phones or called back. At the same time, Peyton's close friends at school noticed she had been missing for days and hadn't updated social media as usual. Worried, one friend called Nadia, but got no answer. The girl told her parents everything, and they decided to alert the police to check the farm, fearing something had happened to the mother and daughter. When police arrived, they discovered the 3 decomposed bodies in the barn as mentioned earlier. The bodies were sent for dental records to determine identities. 2 were confirmed as Nadia and Peyton. However, the 3rd was not Mike as police initially thought, but a woman named Cheryl Baker, 56 years old. Police were baffled, not knowing who Cheryl was or why she was at the farm. Upon further investigation, they discovered she too was born and raised in Utah, the same place as Nadia and Peyton. But the 2 families had no prior relationship or connection. The horrifying truth was revealed: Cheryl was Mike's legal wife. They had been married and living together for nearly 10 years. Moreover, the farm actually belonged to Cheryl. This meant that for the past 3 years, Nadia had only been Mike's mistress, his second life. Mike's full name was Gerald Michael Bullinger. Looking back into his past after graduating from college in 1970, Mike had already been married twice before Cheryl. Both of Mike's ex-wives testified that he often abused them during arguments. As a result, both marriages fell apart after only a few years. After his second divorce, Mike met and married Cheryl. Their home in Utah was not far from Nadia's. This made it easy for Mike to move back and forth between the 2 families. He often used the excuse of being a pilot, having to travel and stay away for days at different locations to cover up his deceitful lifestyle. Therefore, neither Nadia nor Cheryl ever suspected Mike's infidelity. Cheryl's family even praised him as a good husband, loving and attentive to his wife and children. On holidays and special occasions, Mike would take Cheryl and her relatives on trips, spending time together. No one could have imagined that such a man could be unfaithful. Furthermore, most of the money Mike used to buy the ranch was actually Cheryl's lifelong savings for her retirement. Mike deceived Cheryl by telling her he wanted to buy the ranch so they could live happily together after retirement. Blinded by love, Cheryl willingly gave him the money. She was overjoyed and often told her friends and family about their future plans of a peaceful life together at the ranch. Mike even promised to personally repair and renovate the ranch while waiting for Cheryl's retirement. Trusting him completely, Cheryl visited the ranch several times on her own. On June 6, 2017, just 2 weeks before the police discovered the bodies, and the very day Cheryl officially retired, she initially planned to stay at her old home a little longer before moving to the ranch. But that day, overwhelmed with excitement and missing her husband, she decided to drive to the ranch to surprise Mike. However, the happy image she had long awaited was completely shattered. When she arrived, she discovered that besides Mike, Nadia, and her daughter Peyton, 2 people she had never met were also living there. When the 2 worlds Mike had kept hidden finally collided, he found himself unable to explain or escape his lies and deceitful actions. In the end, he decided to murder all 3 women who had loved him wholeheartedly to put an end to his troubles. He then hid their bodies in the barn and fled. The next morning, Mike calmly drove to a nearby restaurant for breakfast. The restaurant owner, who knew him later, recalled that Mike chatted and laughed as if nothing had happened, showing no suspicious behavior at all. Afterward, he drove back to Utah, switching to Cheryl's old car, likely because he knew his own vehicle would soon be tracked by police. He even visited several neighbors, pretending to ask about Cheryl, saying he hadn't been able to reach her for days, creating the illusion that Cheryl had gone missing, and that he was a good husband trying to find his wife. On June 11th, surveillance cameras recorded Mike in an abandoned forest area in Wyoming. This was the last confirmed evidence of his whereabouts before he disappeared into the woods, never to be seen again. Police launched a massive search, deploying K-9 units and helicopters throughout the forest, but all they found was Cheryl's car abandoned at the forest entrance. To this day, Mike remains a fugitive. Based on all the evidence, police have put forward 2 theories. First, Mike might have gone into the forest to find a quiet place and end his own life out of guilt. However, this possibility is considered unlikely because if he had truly felt remorse, he would not have fled so far. The second and far more troubling possibility is that Mike could still be hiding somewhere in the world today. He might be living under a false identity, starting a new life with another woman. If that woman were ever to uncover his secrets, she could unknowingly be placing herself in great danger. That's why the image of Gerald Michael Bullinger, or simply Mike, continues to circulate widely on social media with the hope that one day law enforcement will bring him to justice. The goal is clear: to ensure no other woman or family falls victim to his lies and deceptive promises of love. Perhaps the saddest detail in this story is that even now the Facebook accounts of Nadia and Peyton remain online. Friends, relatives, and even strangers sometimes visit those pages, reading old posts, looking at photos, and remembering the words of love and happiness they once shared about Mike. It's a haunting reminder that love in its purest form is something truly beautiful. For Nadia, love gave her hope again. After years of hardship, she finally smiled, finally believed in happiness. Yet this tragedy reveals the dark truth: without loyalty and honesty, love can become destructive, leaving behind heartbreak and unanswered questions. It is important to remember Nadia was not at fault. She never knew Mike was married. She believed she had found a good man who could give her and her daughter a better life. In truth, she was simply seeking love's stability and the happiness every human being deserves. And that brings us to the end of today's story. If you have any thoughts about this case, feel free to share them in the comments below. Before you go, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss future stories on this channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.